This is something I want to talk about because this is like, I feel like as a business owner, you're constantly worried about making sure your clients are happy and how to find more clients, right? That's the circle, that's the name of the game. Knowing certain things are going to happen because you're in a business with people. I just want to tell you guys up front, and these may be things that you know already, but I'm going to give you permission to know, or to be okay with them. Knowing that sometimes you guys are going to schedule something and they're going to cancel. Knowing that's going to happen will help you from being frustrated by it happening. Because you are people, but you're also business owners, so you have to think in the form of a business owner. You have to think sometimes, Keith, yes, I know it's risky to turn something down, but as a business owner, I can't take that risk with my business's money. I can't take that risk to say yes to your cheaper wedding or your cheaper senior portraits, because I have a responsibility to my business to uphold my brand, but also to do what I know is in its best interest. So filling the bucket, we've got a couple things here. You got to start by deciding where you're going. This goes right back to me being frustrated with this. It goes right back to what we were talking about from where you start. Deciding where you're going, and what I mean by that is make a plan. You guys may have heard if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. There's all these cool little things you can say to yourself. If you guys don't know where you're going, if you don't, who's ever started a trip and not known where they're headed? On purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys, when you guys came in here, did you GPS how to get to the airport, or GPS how to get to the hotel, or you know what I mean, or did you just take off? You're like, I know it's up there somewhere. It's fun sometimes. It's really not fun if you have other people in the car. And you guys have a lot. You guys have other people in the car. You have clients. Knowing where you're going, even if you do this once a week, if you do it once a year, you do it once a quarter, having some kind of idea. It doesn't have to be concrete. If you're a details person, there are business plans. Photo Shelter has a detailed, like anal retentive detailed business plan of like, these are specific weekly goals. It's like the Knot has for weddings of like every week you have to do this. These are people you need to contact. If you need that, there are those options out there. Photoshelter.com has all kinds of stuff. But if you don't know where you're going in a general sense as your business, I guarantee you'll go nowhere, or you'll spend a lot of time going around in circles. It's a very simple fix to say, we know who we're selling to, we know what we're selling, and this is where we want to go with it. Do you want to work 40 hours a week? Do you want to work Tuesdays? Do you want to work Saturdays? Christina, Trevor said I edit for Christina Blenarovich. She wanted to spend more time with her kids. Part of her being able to do that meant that she was going to spend some of the money that she's earned from her photography to be able to do that. You guys know you can hire a designer to do your design stuff. You can do it yourself. Do you want to do that? How do you want to do that? Did you guys want to come here? I had people that said, well, we could never do that. Well, you could if you wanted to, or you could if you tried to find some way. If you just didn't accept the fact that somebody said you couldn't, or somebody said it was too expensive, or somebody said that you had to be somewhere, I feel like it's really about you personally deciding where you want to go, and then not listening to anybody else. I had so many people, including my mom, tell me there's no way people are going to buy $2,500 vacuum cleaners, and then she bought 2 of them. And then she sold for me for a year, and she made an extra $10,000 or $12,000 that year doing something that she told me I could never do. There's so many things online that you guys can watch. There's one of the ones I just recently watched it's from Soul Pancake. It's called the Secret of Power of Positive Thinking or something. And one of these kids is just over and over and over again testimonials of people who had been told no, had been told they couldn't, had been told they shouldn't, whatever. Please try to not listen to what other people tell you to do with your business, or what experts tell you should do with your business. One of the cool things about being in a creative business is it's creative, and you can kind of do whatever you want. I wanted to take my family on vacation. I couldn't afford to take my family on vacations. So I started looking for opportunities to shoot, to make money for what people want me to do. And if I have to go there, my family can ride in the car with me. My wife can come on a plane with me. So we started looking for opportunities. Yeah, it costs more to take 5 people than it does to take 1 people. 1 people? I'm a people. It costs more. So we either decided that we were going to break even, or we're just going to make a little bit, but it was worth more because I got to take my family and have those experiences. So decide what you want to do and where you want to go with your business, and then make a plan for it. I guarantee you it won't all work. Reverse engineering is great as a way of doing it, of saying, I want to end up over there, so this is how I'm going to get there. I'm going to stand up, I'm going to take 3 steps this way, I'm going to turn there, and then go over. Reverse engineering your business plan, your week, whatever. Like I said, you can be as detailed and specific as you want with that. But if you don't make some effort towards that, if you don't make some plan, I guarantee you won't go anywhere with it. Reverse engineering, there are some tools online that I feel like are a big part of what I do to plan out my weeks. Google Calendars, as simple as this sounds, whether you have an Android or a smartphone, an iPhone, put your stuff on a Google Calendar and sync it with the people that need to know what you're doing. My wife and I share a Google Calendar. When she adds something, I can see it. When I add something, she can see it. It's that simple to look at our week and say, so-and-so wants us to do something on Thursday, can we? I don't know, let's look at our calendar. It's not bright, it's not rocket science. Like, I don't feel like I've discovered the secret to cancer. It's a Google Calendar. But it's little things like that as a business owner, I feel like we get there's so much to do. There's so much to do that you can get overwhelmed if you don't do the simple things that help keep the rest of your business simple. Reverse engineering your week. Pick a day that you figure out what you do with your week. For me, it's Monday. It's pretty easy because it's the beginning week. But for about an hour and a half in the morning, I will not answer my phone. I do not get on my computer. And I try really, really hard to stay focused. And I try to look at all the things that I need done, long-term goals, things I need to do this year, things I need to do this month, and the things I need to do this week. And I plan out a little checklist of things they need to do and the priorities of how they need to be done. It's annoying because I don't normally typically like to do that, but it's much more annoying to be Thursday afternoon and go, there were like 6 things I needed to do yesterday I didn't get done. Or I had this client waiting for something and I told him on the phone I would do it and I didn't. It's much more annoying to stand on the back end of it and realize I could have done something very simple. If you make an appointment with somebody, that minute, put it on your phone. It takes 5 seconds. If you tell somebody you're going to email something to them, put it on your phone or put it on your computer or write a Post-it note, however you do it. Engineer that from the back to the front to keep yourself on track. Okay. Your steps need to be a direct reflection of your style. One of the things I learned from Sue Bryce that I feel like has just super impacted my business in a positive is the idea of setting expectations up front. How many of you guys have gone into a shoot where you thought they knew what was going to happen? You gave them your product and they came back and said, I thought we were going to get 60 pictures and we only got 30. I really thought there would be a lot more pictures of my mom. I really thought, anybody? What's a recent story, or maybe not so recent? What's something like that you felt like was just it made the interaction sour, not because of anything either one of you did wrong?
I shot a wedding for a couple who already had 3 kids, and they wanted tons of pictures of their kids from the wedding. What I do is I document the bride and groom and their journey, and so I follow them around. I don't follow their kids around.
Right. So they expected that you, as a photographer, would have lots of pictures of their kids, and you expected to do what you normally do, which is document the story of the bride and groom. Either one of those expectations bad expectations? No. Different. They're just different. I have found that helping my clients understand what I do, and then at the end of that, when they clearly, and over and over again, from your engagement session, you can expect to see 75 to 150 pictures. You can expect to see 300 to 400 pictures from your wedding. You can expect, and I say that over and over again. I feel like an auto record is just over and over and over again. I say it with every client, and I say it multiple times. Why do I do that? It's because I've had things like that happen. I showed up to a wedding in jeans and a t-shirt because I had my outfit to change into, because when you're doing bridal portraits and all that stuff, you get sweaty and it's gross. So I usually, right before the ceremony, I'll put my jeans or my nice shirt on. Nobody said anything but the mom to the bride. So later when we're showing them their picture, she's like, Yeah, my mom was kind of disappointed. She said she thought you looked a little sloppy when you got there. So I think about that now, and we talk about that. Even if they never ask the question, what do you wear to a wedding? I say, hey guys, I just want you to know when I get to a wedding, I usually have a little more casual outfit on because I don't want to be gross for your ceremony. So they may have never even thought of that. They may have never even thought that that would come up, but it's something that I have found that if it doesn't reflect my style, if it doesn't reflect what I do, the kind of a business that I operate, and they don't know that, they may even not even know to know that. But I try to explain all those things and go through those thoroughly, but then ask them questions. Hey, is there anything special that you guys would like to have happen? You know, my style is not. I don't typically do it either. I don't typically get a lot of dance shots. I don't typically get a lot of family pictures. I had a couple like the only couple I think I've ever had that was like disappointed with their wedding pictures. And they said over and over again, we're not disappointed with your wedding pictures, or our wedding pictures. We love the pictures. They're so pretty. Over and over again. But we thought there would be more pictures of our bridal party. It would have been easier if they hadn't have been lost drunk in the limo for like 45 minutes. But they expected that. And it's very simple. My style is this, but they expected something different even though they hired me. Those steps of reverse engineering those interactions, reverse engineering my week as a business owner, reverse engineering the client the client meeting of how I want it to go, knowing what I want them to know at the end helps me know what to talk to them about. Just little things like that will help your business be less frustrating in the end. Go ahead.
So like when something like that does happen and it's like out of your control, you know, they're lost or whatever, do you just apologize and just eat it, or do you say, what, like, do you make it a point to know, like, well, it wasn't really my fault?
Yeah. Who hates dealing with disgruntled people? Does anybody dislike confrontation?
I'm good.
Yeah. So as a business owner, that people who dislike confrontation, the easiest thing to do is just like, oh, whatever you want, I'll make you happy. Right? You want more pictures? I'll give you more pictures. You want to do another? I'll do another session. Because I hate to see you disappointed.
See, I had that situation where I had a bride that was I was telling Francis this night, I was so hungover that she didn't put her dress on until 5 minutes before the ceremony.
The bride?
She ate up all of her time.
Mm-hmm.
And she passed out, like it was just, she had an IV given to her, it was like ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And after the wedding was over, I gave her images and she kept like, why didn't you get more details, even though I gave her like over 200 detailed pictures? Why didn't you get more of this? Why didn't you get more of that? And I tried to be as nice as possible and as, cordial. But then when I got the mom emailing me saying she's disappointed, I had to say, I don't know if you remember the condition of your daughter-in-law, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get those pictures and I'm disappointed as well. So I had to be honest with her because at that point, like 5 emails deep, and I mean,
at what point does
getting an IV, who doesn't remember that?
Right.
Like I couldn't get the pictures.
Right.
They locked me out. I wanted to take that.
But like when we're at weddings and things are changing on the fly, I make sure I tell my brides and grooms, well, because this is happening, we no longer have time to
I did that too.
Yeah.
I told
You
her
just have to say, remember we had this conversation?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry you're disappointed that the situation was, we only had so much time.
Yeah.
And
I think, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, guys, remember your camera has a
do
timestamp on all the images
Yeah.
too. So if you ever need to go back and like say, look, from this time to this time, we were out of, there was nothing I could do with this. I had to use that where I had a couple basically say that I didn't get a photo of her pinning the boutonniere on her dad. And I went back and looked at the images, and the dad already had the boutonniere pinned because the wedding planner pinned it on him when she arrived at the ceremony because she arrived late. And so then I wrote him back and I said, I would have loved to do that shot. It's a very pretty shot. I want to make sure to give it to you guys. I know you mentioned it before. I wasn't able to because look, here's the dad with the boutonniere when you got out of the limo, And I said it nicely, but I was like, sometimes clients, they don't even, it's such a blur on the day that you almost have to just have them remember. But yeah, Stephanie, that was a good point too. Sorry.
No, you're good. This is what I was hoping would happen. The thing about confrontation is that I feel like 90% of it has to do with how you feel about it to start off with.
Yes.
If you know going into it you hate confrontation and you're like anxious about the idea, you're probably going to either get pissed and be pissy, or you're going to like kiss butt and overcompensate. If you guys can start with this question in any confrontation, whether it's like, you didn't get pictures of my dad, or whether it's like, Christina, I was really hoping, if it's either way, if you can start with this question, what can I do to make this situation better? To them, say, what can I do to make this right? What can I do to make this situation better? It's something I learned when I was working in restaurants, is when I was working with servers or whether I was working with clients, when I was doing training or whether I was dealing with an upset table. If you go in and say, guys, we'd like to give you free dessert, we'd love to comp your meal, they may have said, if you had asked them, we just really would like, some food to take home. Or we'd like to, we'd love to have, my wife would love to have some coffee. They may ask for a $3 item and you're willing to comp a $75 meal because you didn't know.
Yeah.
If you can, as the business owner, say, what can I do to make this right? Somebody in my networking group always says, good guys, the difference between good guys and bad guys is that the good guys fix their mistakes. They don't say good guys don't make mistakes, they say they fix them. And it made me think about that a totally different way, because I know I'm going to do something because, like I said, we're in the people business and we're dealing with clients. I know you guys are going to do stuff that you didn't mean to do. You're going to do stuff that they didn't know that you would do, whether that was because you didn't talk about your expectations or they just didn't remember them. These people got ripped, spent 45 minutes driving around in circles in their limo, and they didn't have time for family pictures. And then by the time they did, they were so drunk they didn't want to be outside. So it's like, I have the choice to say, you guys were morons. You were drunk morons. You were gone. I couldn't take pictures of people who aren't there. Your family all has pictures. This is I could have gone that route. Wow. You realize you say all kinds of goofy stuff when you're being recorded and in front of people. I could have gone that route. That was for you. I could have gone that route. What would have been the end result? I don't know. Probably not happiness.
It would have blown a big.
It probably wouldn't have been good. Even if it had been, I would have been right. There's still people who paid me to do a job, and I guarantee you they'll talk way worse, or they'll talk way more about their bad interaction with me than they ever would their good interaction. So that's why I said to him, I bit my lip, and I went home and complained to my wife. But I said, what can I do to make this right, guys? What can I do for you? They said, well, we really would like to have, we'd really like to have all the images. You mean all the images that you didn't have enough of? They wanted all of it. That's really what it came down to, is they wanted all the images on a disc, and that wasn't something that they bought. They bought my lowest package, gave them a deal, helped them out, that whole situation. They bought my lowest package, and they wanted all the images on a disc. And I said, well, okay. As a business, we can't afford to do that just because you're disappointed. So what can I do? What in that, could we do 100 on a disc? Could you pick out your favorite 150? They said, we want the whole thing. I said, well, I can't do that without you paying for it. This is what it costs. We can't afford to pay that. I said, well, what do you feel is a fair price for what you're getting? At the end of the day, I ended up selling them something that I normally don't sell for a different price, because I did miss something that we had talked about. The reasons why I missed it to them didn't matter, because I missed something they wanted, something we had talked about. So, but I presented it. I went to their house. I presented it in the same kind of wrapping, pretty cool stuff that I normally do, and they commented. They said, wow, this is really nice. I put a gift card in there like I normally do with my clients, because the idea of being vulnerable with them is to me is a matter of I don't need them to make me happy, and I don't need them to have done the right thing, and I don't need them, you know what I mean? It's like it transfers that blame back from them to me. I'm the business owner. I'm gonna have to deal with it. Sometimes I'm sure Walmart returns stuff they never should have returned. They give people their money back, but I guarantee you that Walmart has a reputation that they make people happy and that they service their clients, and that's what they want people to remember. And that's what I wanted. I didn't think that they would probably ever refer me to another wedding, but I knew they wouldn't talk bad about me, and I knew that I upheld what my standards are as a business. So that question will help. I feel like will help any interaction that you guys have, is to ask them what you can do to make it right, and then from there decide what you can do to make it right. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay. Where are we on time? 11:30. Okay. You guys good? Anybody too hot? You need something to drink? You need to stand up, stretch your legs for a second? Good. Anybody got any questions? We're going to talk a little bit more about how to fill the bucket, but I feel like in order to fill your bucket of business, you have to know what your bucket looks like. You have to know how much water it can hold. You have to know whether you can do 50 weddings or 20 weddings. You have to know of those 20 weddings if you want to do 20 intimate ceremonies and personal weddings, or you want to do like big, crazy 4 people shooting weddings. Like, you have to know. You have to know if you want to do all that or if any of that is cool. So the art of selling, this is something I think a lot of creatives have a hard time with. Who feels comfortable selling stuff? Who feels okay? Like, they're okay asking for money for stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't have anxiety about it. Who has complete anxiety about selling stuff? Who would rather your client go online and just be like, click this box, pay this thing, and I'm done? Right? Yeah, right? Because selling is difficult. You know why? It's because it's interaction with people. People don't ever do what they're supposed to. Zig Ziglar is. Have you guys ever read Zig Ziglar stuff? I love his stuff. He's famous for saying, selling is everything, and everything is selling. Whether you are selling your wife on the idea that she should marry you, whether you're selling your kids on the idea that not doing what they're about to do is a better idea than doing what they're about to do, whether you're selling the driver in the lane next to you the idea that you're not going to run into them because of how you're driving, everything you do is selling, and selling is everything. I talked to my church pastor about this a couple weeks ago. I said, the reason people aren't coming to your class is because they don't know what you're selling. Like, they don't know what you're offering. It's a sales interaction, whether it's intentional or not. And I think people really stray away from that because they think of selling and they think of all the times they've been sold something they didn't want. Anybody bought something because somebody sold it to them? They sold them and it was like, oh, it's going to be the best, it's going to be the shiniest, it's going to make your life happy. And you got home and you're like, this thing sucks.
iPhone 4.
You don't have an iPhone 4. This Asus computer, Trevor?
I'm just kidding.
Regretting that. I think everybody has a story, whether you're 50 or whether you're 10, of somebody that sold you on something that you didn't go in wanting, and then regretted it. If you ever read Zig Ziglar stuff, he talks about salespeople as equippers, as order takers. Who's comfortable taking an order? I mean, if somebody comes up to you, Alicia, and says, I'd like 2 of these pair of pants, size 36, length 30, and I'd like them blue. You comfortable doing that? You writing that down? No? What would make you uncomfortable with that?
Well, I mean, it would make you uncomfortable.
Okay, so that versus somebody coming in and saying, I don't know what I want. Which of those situations would be easier for you? Someone knowing what they want, right? It's super easy for anybody to fill out an order versus convincing somebody that they want something, right? I'm good at selling stuff, and it's still hard for me to try to convince someone to buy something. So when I was selling vacuums, cleaning systems, one of the things that my distributor always told me is he said, you don't have to, if you sell somebody a cleaning system that doesn't want one, and you sell them on the idea that they want them, you'll get more returns, you'll get more dissatisfied customers, and you'll get all kinds of issues. You know, oh, it doesn't work though. I need a return. I need a refund. This handle doesn't. It feels weird. Well, why is that? Well, because you convinced them to buy it. You didn't take an order. You convinced them that they needed it. If you present somebody with a list of options, and you say which of these fit better, and they pick one, they're probably not going to come back to you and regret that decision because they picked it. When you're looking at selling to clients, one of the best ways that you guys can become order takers instead of salespeople is to ask a lot of questions. Ask tons of questions. If you guys separate your hours or your pricing by hours, start off by, just conversationally. How long are you guys going to be, when do you start getting ready and when's your ceremony? How long do you have the building? How much of that would you like covered? Would 6 hours or 10 hours be easier for you? Well, it's easier to ask if 6 or 10 hours would be easier for them if when you started out your business you said, we want to break it down by hours. We want to work by hours. If you do all day coverage, super easy question. Hey, when would you guys like me to show up? We're going to be there until the end. What's easiest for you? Do you want pictures of your makeup? We do that a lot. Pictures of people we do 5 or 6 of them. We put them in the albums as part of your day. The easiest way to find those questions out is to ask them. The hardest part about asking the questions is admitting to yourself that you don't know the answers already. And that's just a vulnerability thing. You just got to be willing to be vulnerable with people. One of the reasons Jasmine Star is super famous is because she started out going, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, and I'm scared to death. And a lot of people said, I know exactly what that feels like. So she built a relationship with people. She still does it, and she's super busy. She still takes time to answer questions and emails because she doesn't know anything, you know? So you ask tons of questions. If you're not a good question asker, there's a lot of resources out there, or you can ask any of us. I'm sure everybody in here has a couple questions that they ask. It may not be questions that you ask. People love to talk about themselves, especially people that are getting married or graduating high school. What are you going to do? I don't know. Well, what do you like? I like sports. What kind of sports? You know what I mean? You continue to ask people questions about themselves, and they will talk all day long about themselves, and they'll leave feeling like you got to know them and they matter. There's nothing more annoying. Has anybody had this happen? You go in to buy something, or you go in to look at something, and the person sits and tells you all about this thing rather than asking you what you want, or they're standing there telling you all the features of this computer, and you're like, I want an Apple. They're like, oh, but this is. You're like, you're not listening. Like, I don't want that. Anybody had that happen with their wedding clients? You're telling them all about what you do. I've done this before. I've gotten in that, like, just, oh, well, let me show you some of our pictures, and here's some of our albums, and oh, aren't these awesome albums? And the whole time they're sitting there, which I later found out, going, we don't even want an album. We don't care. So you spend 40 minutes talking to them about albums and all the different options, and they're going, whatever. And they leave. They both look at each other, and they're like, why did he talk so long about stupid albums? We don't want an album. So you can avoid a lot of that. You can avoid that salesperson thing by asking lots of questions. Start off your consults. Start off your interactions and emails asking questions. Ask them 2 or 3 questions. Don't overload them. Don't send a questionnaire of like 37,000. But when they email you and say, Christina, we saw your pictures online. We'd love to talk to you about your wedding. Oh, that's super cool. When are you getting married? What are you, what's your fiance's name? How did you guys meet? Stuff like that. It sounds so super simple, but I promise you, if you give people the opportunity to talk about themselves, they'll feel more like you know them and want to know them, which you probably do. I don't have any doubt in that you guys are trying to be manipulative, but these will help you equip yourselves in getting across what you want to get across. Money follows the path of least resistance. Who watched the Sal Sincata Creative Live stuff? Anybody? He says that over and over and over and over again in his pricing and his structure. If you make it easy for people to buy stuff, they'll buy stuff. There's a TED Talk. This girl talks about this. It's a grocery store, and they sell jams and beer and wine. But in each one of those, like if you walk into the jams aisle, they have like 47 different kinds of strawberry jam. Has anybody ever heard the term choice overload?
Yeah.
Has anybody filled out something online and you open the color palette and there's like, oh my, they have like 87 colors I can pick from. Who goes default, whatever, gray? There's the idea of money doing the same thing is if you walk in and you lay out your packaging, you lay out your pricing of what you sell, and it looks like an agreement to buy a house, they're gonna go one of 2 things. They're either gonna go, whoa, this is serious. We can't make a decision like this today. Or they're gonna go, I don't even have a clue where to start with that. Either one of those are bad. If you walk in and you say, did you have a?
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
finish what you're saying.
No, go ahead.
I think it was a WPPI, and I can't remember who it was. But they were saying basically like, don't be like the Cheesecake Factory, where you walk in, you see the menu, and you're like,
Did you hear that? Wait, I just want everybody to
Like, I
point
don't
that
even know what
out.
I
Who
want.
heard what happened when she said Cheesecake Factory? Everybody goes, oh. Like,
That's
oh
the
my
first thing I
gosh.
see. I can't even
you walk in and you see the menu, and you're just like, I don't want to. Like, I'm just gonna get a cheeseburger, and then that's it. Like, I don't even know what's
Yeah.
what.
Well, remember the Mexican restaurant we went to yesterday? You
They
could get a
only had-
burrito,
yeah.
you could get a taco. I mean, there wasn't like
And
a
they
bunch of
had
different kinds of
one at the
burritos.
door.
You ordered a burrito.
just
And
like
your burger?
Yeah.
Yeah,
single
buddy.
burger.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
Melissa, what did you say when we pulled up to In-N-Out? What did you say?
It was great because there were only like 5 people.
She goes, wow, that's a small menu.
It was perfect.
But you know exactly what you're not going to get.
Yeah.
Is anything not on that menu?
Cheesy
They have
burgers
secrets.
are horrific.
They have, yeah.
It's secrets.
I was going to say that.
But you don't go
To
there
present-
for like a salad. Like they're like you can go there and you know what you want.
To present someone a menu, a wedding pricing menu, to present them a menu that looks like this, and it has 2 things on it, and it has 4 packages with like small paragraphs. To present them this, does this mean that I don't have more than this? Does this mean that if they go, I want to look at that, and they go, oh, I see that you don't have a photo booth on here. Yeah, I'm gonna pass around. I see you don't have a photo booth on here. Is that something you do? Yeah, we have a photo booth. We have an open air photo booth. We're happy to set that up for you. This is what it's on the a la carte menu. So it doesn't mean that you don't have options. What it does mean is that you're trying to make what you do abundantly clear and offer them the easiest way to spend money with you. Because as business owners, what is your number one goal? To have clients spend money with you. Because if they don't spend money with you, or they only buy the cheapest thing because it's the easiest thing for them to buy, then you need to help them or help your pricing or structure things differently so that what you make easiest to buy is the thing that you want them to buy business-wise. Now, what that means with pricing is that I don't feel like you should ever have a package you can't afford to shoot. If you have a package that's like your base package and you don't want to shoot that ever because it's either too much time for the money or you don't make money on it, take it off of your list. Take it off of your offerings. And don't ever sell it again. Don't even give them the option to sell it. If you have a dummy package that you can't afford to sell, don't sell it. Don't offer it. But if you have a dummy package that's ugly, I mean, if you put it on there and they're looking at it and they're like, you get down to it, there's no way I would want that. Why would you ever want that? They're probably not going to buy it, even if it's what they can afford. Even if it's what they probably, if it was just prices listed out, would afford. So when you guys are setting up your pricing, when you're selling things, when you're offering, if you do family stuff or senior stuff, if you're offering packages, make it easy for them to buy it. If you look at it and you think it's easy, take it to somebody else. Take it to somebody who doesn't know your business and say, is this clear? Does this make sense? If I give you my senior pricing list, Christina, and you've never come to see seniors before, if I give you that, could you figure out maybe what on there looks like what you would like or what you're looking for? If I send that to you in an email and you go, yeah, that's about the prices that we were looking for, but do you have anything that's like, I mean, we'd like to have this. I have total freedom then to say, yeah, absolutely, I'm an order taker. What do you guys want? What works for you? Does one of those look like about what you guys wanted to spend money-wise? Okay, well, inside of that, what are some things that are important to you? Well, we can't give that away at that price, but we could do it for that. You know what I mean? But it starts the process. If I send them my sheets that I have that has like 8x10, 5x7, 4x6, wallets, 12x14, 11x14, 12x24. If I send them that, they're probably going to do what I would do is go, whoa, I don't even know what to do with that. Give that to somebody who knows what they're doing. Or take time to look at this. I don't want them to take the time to look at it. I want them to look pictures, look at prices and go, yeah, that's what we want.
I love that.
You know?
I like the,
Super simple, super easy. Because I know that if it's too difficult, if there's too many choices, they're either not going to do it then, which I would like them to decide, or they're not going to do it at all. Under promise and over deliver, easy to understand. I just wanted to throw it in there, but expounded on it a little bit is that part of under promising and over delivering is that you're promising to begin with. You're setting expectations to begin with. So if you under promise and over deliver and you say, oh my gosh, this is going to drive me crazy. Did somebody figure this out? If you under promise, in your mind, what that means is that you say you'll be there for 6 and you're there for 10. You don't have to point it out. You don't have to say to them like, hey, we were there for 10 hours. But you can tell them at 6 hours, guys, we're having so much fun. I know that you only booked 6 hours. We're going to go ahead and stay for a little while longer. Man, they will just think you're the best stuff in the world. But you're making a promise to begin with, so they have some expectations to begin with, so that when you do over-deliver, you're not sitting in your office going, I gave them so much stuff and they didn't even care. You know what I mean? I did so much more for them than they ever asked, and they didn't even say anything. They probably didn't notice. Or they probably didn't have an expectation to begin with, so they didn't know to appreciate it, you know? I wouldn't have known to appreciate a $200 discount if I didn't know the price to begin with. So part of under-promising and over-delivering is that you guys are making clear what the promise is to begin with so that they can then appreciate when you do over-deliver. Be on time. I laughed at my wife because we're never on time for anything. Except business. Be on time for everything, not just being on time for the wedding, being prompt. Be on time when you tell them 2 weeks. If you tell them 2 weeks, either give it to them before 2 weeks, but don't send them an email at the day of 2 weeks and say, guys, it's going to be just a little bit longer. If you know that something like that's going to happen, ask that question. Guys, it's going to be a little bit longer. This album company, I just had this recently. I ordered an album. It normally takes between 12 and 14 days, so I tell them 2 to 3 weeks. It took them a little over a month, and I finally called the third time, and they were like, oh, we don't know what happened. So I just asked my client, I know this has taken way longer than what you had planned on. I threw a couple extra pictures in there to begin with, but what can I do to make this right for you guys? And you know what she said? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We appreciate that you even were concerned enough to call us. So be on time. Make it a point. If you're not a person who's on time, if you're habitually late because it's not a big deal to you, try to be on time with your business stuff.
Keith, what happened when we were shooting the engagement session the other day? About the on time. Remember we were walking back to the truck?
Oh, yeah, we were walking back in the truck. There was a car parked in front of us, and Trevor asked him to give up
We're
a
almost
little
done
bit.
for our lunch. I'm
Because
just
we
gonna
couldn't
finish this
get out.
slide.
And the guy said, yeah, we were getting ready to ask you guys to shoot our pictures because our photographer's extremely late. And he was pissed off.
Yeah.
When he said, he didn't say this nonsense.
Yeah.
He saw us with the cameras. He's like, would you? We were going to ask you if you guys would be willing to take our engagement photos.
Now, we don't know if they were 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, or if they've been sitting there now.
If
I
they,
don't know. But he
if
was
5
not
minutes to
happy.
him is extremely late, you're extremely
Can
late.
you imagine as a
He was not happy at
photographer
all.
how to get those people out and all of a sudden get a flow and to shoot?
Yeah.
It would
And I
suck.
promise you,
Starting
if
from the
we'd
bottom.
said, yeah, we can shoot it, what were you going to pay him?
bottom now.
He would have had us shoot it right then.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
He was ticked.
We were in the middle of a session. We had to go to another.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But his photographer would have shown up, and they wouldn't have had a job.
Right.
Wow. Crazy.
So you're the business owner. Be on time. Don't make excuses. Don't be one of those people that's all the time saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." If you know it takes longer than 2 weeks, don't tell people it's going to be 2 weeks. If you know you're really bad with getting photos back in 2 weeks, say, "Guys, I'm a little bit slower on getting things back to you. I'm going to do my best to get them back to you in 3 weeks, but it won't be longer than that. I guarantee you that." 2 weeks is kind of like my thing. It's like I've always, no matter what it is, unless it's a wedding, I always tell my clients 60 to 90 days for weddings, but I never turn one in. You guys, Chris, I have a Dropbox folder full of that stuff for you guys. So,
cool.
yeah.
Cool.
If all these things I'm going to show you is in a Dropbox folder. You guys can share the PSD files, the JPEG files. You can add in your own colors and do whatever you want with them. So, I forget what I was going to say.
60.
Oh yeah, 60 to 90 days. I've never delivered past a month, ever. It's always been a month or less. And sometimes they appreciate that, like overly appreciate that. Most of the time they are so amped to see them that they're just like, oh, that was so fast. Because they thought it was going to be 60 to 90 days because there was a promise to begin with. Anyways, on time. We're just going to finish this last one and get the break for lunch. Is this helping? Is any of this stuff clicking in? Okay.
This is awesome.
Simplify the options, KISS. These 4 pieces, yeah, keep it simple, stupid. The next 4, these 4 C's are from a TED Talk. And you guys, dude, if you guys are not listening to TED Talks, they will change your life for the better. TED Talks are on YouTube. They're also on TED Talks, but they're between 20 to 90 minutes. Some of them are 2 to 3 minutes. We're gonna watch one that's a 2-minute session here in a minute, or after lunch. But TED Talks are all about ideas that power business, innovations, people that have changed creativity, the way that they've offered stuff to their products. Yeah, this one she talks about selling. This blind woman is presenting, talking about selling, and she talks about those jams, and she talks about how to keep things in scientific research, how they have figured out to make it easy for people to buy. She talks about setting up 2 carts, one with 46 jams and one with 12 jams. They sold a higher number of jams when they only had 12 to choose from. They had twice as many people stop and look when they had more to choose from, but only like 3 times as many bought when they had less to choose from. When they organized magazines into 6 different categories, if they had 400 magazines in 6 categories versus 310 categories, they sold more magazines when there were 6 categories versus 10 categories. Because people, when you can cut things out that don't matter, if you can't tell me the difference between 2 albums, don't have 2 albums. If you have 2 albums that are so similar that you can't say the benefits of choosing this one over this one, get rid of one of them and only offer them one. It's not a benefit to anybody. Pick the one that best fits your needs, not just the cheapest one, but pick one, a decision. Tell me how they're different. Be able to describe how they're different. Goes back to describing yourself. how are you different? Why should someone book you over someone else? It shouldn't be anything to do with your photos. It should be something about your interaction with them, or the way that you do business, or the way that they can approach you, or anything like that. I'm going to try to rush through this. Feel free to ask questions. Concretize, make the choices obvious, and the consequences of not choosing those obvious. One of the things I just told my wife the other day is, I really wish the person at the customer service center would have said, when we rented our car the other day, just quickly even, I know they go through it all the time, but I don't rent cars all the time. If they had said, the lost damage waiver is for like stuff you break or stuff you damage, but it covers stuff like tires. If you're going to transfer a car from Phoenix to San Diego, I would think that would be something important to mention on an $11 insurance policy versus a $200 tire. Make it obvious the choices they should make, but also, and I'm not saying warn them, but say, guys, I just want you to know, this is a less inexpensive album. They do have a tendency, if you use them a lot, you look through them a lot, to kind of fall apart a little easier. So I'm not saying don't buy it. It's a great album if it fits in your budget, but I just want you to be aware of that. If you can help them categorize, like I said, if you can categorize your wedding packages into 2 or 3 packages, or if you can categorize your senior packages into packages and say, hey, there's an a la carte, or we can work around in these, but here's 4 categories. They can help identify themselves in those 4 categories easier than they can just a big blob of information. Make choices. You can. One of the interesting things about the research is you can have more choices in fewer categories, and they'll choose the more choices in fewer categories because they're able to comprehend stuff, data, but it has to be in places that they can make sense with it. So she did. They concretize. Oh, I put that on twice. It's not concretized. The last one is, or no, it is. Hold on. I'm gonna look at my Evernote because I have the picture of it. But basically, the last one says go from less to more. If you start out with options and you say, here's 46,000 paint options. Okay, here's 7 options for how you want the car to drive, or tire options. And then here's 4 options of outside color. People will choose default, or they'll blank out earlier on. If you start with something small and build up to something big, if you start with, hey guys, this is a $6,500 package. It basically includes everything you want. Album, all day, and 2 shooters. And so if you start that way and you can build up to the more difficult or the more challenging stuff, it's easier for people to choose that way because, like I said, they can handle more information, but you have to kind of step it up into it or they check out. It overwhelms. You get that buyer overwhelming sense of, I don't know what to choose, so I'm going to choose nothing. I know that's super fast through pricing stuff. I'm very happy to talk to you guys more specifically. I brought not all of, but a lot of my branding stuff from things like this, like little things we've ordered from Rice Studios, to like our wedding pricing, to invites we've done. Because I have a specific style, it's been very easy for me to find products because I just look for stuff that looks like stuff I like. Soft albums from Miller's. All this stuff, I brought a couple albums too, so you guys can see them. But if you have questions about any of that stuff, feel free to ask. And I can tell you about why we offer each one. Any questions before we break for lunch?
Yeah, I feel
That's
like
a lot of information, I'm sorry. I know.
Problem with my top package, like maybe there's too much in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
This year I'm doing way better than last year. Every single person booked my middle package last year, and I haven't changed my packages, but I feel like now maybe my clients are choosing my top package, and I don't feel like it's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But maybe it was at first.
I will say this.
Were you trying to guide them to your middle package? Like, were you trying to guide them to your middle package, or did that just seem to be what they wanted?
Yeah, no, I just think that when I emailed them, I sent them my client lounge, and everyone just picked number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, my middle package.
Yeah. Part of what I'm gonna talk about is pricing. I'm gonna talk about anchor pricing and then also decoy pricing. It's 2 strategies you can use to basically
pick those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Maybe that will help a little bit.
There's unlimited amounts of options as to why that's happening.
Yeah, I think it might have been the people that I was attracting. I was still so new, so I was more of a budget person.
I try to relate things in my world to like other businesses. Has anybody ever bought a car, used or new? You gone to a lot and bought a car? Mm-hmm. When you went to the lot, did they have like the 47 paperwork things that you have to fill out? Did they show you that when you first started? What'd they tell you about the car? Or did they tell you anything about it?
So they
Make
showed
sure
me
that-
how awesome it was.
Yeah, they were like,
$200 down, you'd be out the door.
right,
Yeah.
right. What do they put in huge letters? $500 down, or 0 down, or 12 months without interest. They show you what the shiny stuff. They show you the nicest stuff first. When I show people albums, I start with the album. It's not necessarily the one I want them to buy. It's just the one that I feel like is like, wow, that's a nice album. For two reasons. One is people like my neighbors that know what I do. They know I'm a photographer. They had no idea what level of photographer. They just knew that I did photography, so they came down and talked to me. And she said they sat in my office later. She said they sat in my office and they were just like, wow, like this is like real. Like you're like a real photographer. Like you do like really good work. She said the first album we handed her, she was just like, this is like a book. I was like, yeah, that's like kind of what we do. But I hand them this album because it comes in a box and it's like it's pretty and it's when they open it up, it has like nice features that make you feel like it's worth a lot of money. I mean, it is worth a lot of money, but it's things that make you feel like it's worth a lot of money. When you go to look at new cars, you will never look at a new car that's really nice and go, I bet this is only like $5,000. Part of the reason that you don't do that is because you know what cars cost. You know, and people don't know wedding albums cost $1,200. They don't know. They've never bought a wedding album, or they may have, but not like this. They've never had somebody make something for them. They've never had a suit made by someone who makes suits. They've never had a purse made by someone who makes purses for a living. You know what I mean? They may have had their mom make them pants or something, but they've never had a custom, unique artisan-made product. So when you put it in their hands and they say, this is really nice, you're like, yeah, every one of these books is hand-stitched. Hand-stitched, not like they push a machine, it's hand-stitched. Like somebody makes this book for you. And they don't print 70,000 of them, they print one of them. You're the only person that has this book. Now you can have more copies made, but when you get this book and you set it on your coffee table and your kids look at it and your grandkids look at it and they have it in your attic, this is your book. This is your story. It becomes something valuable. And then they start to, like when you go to a car lot, they go, oh yeah, this is something that should cost a lot of money. And then you say, you know what's neat is when we do I put an album in every single one of our packages except our 4-hour basic package. The reason is because stories are super, super important, super important. I can't go back and explain to you, or you may not be able to go back and explain to your kids what this day looked like, but you can hand them this book and I guarantee you they'll know what it looked like. They'll know what it felt like. They'll see you crying when you walk down the aisle, you know? So it's like, those kind of things are ways that you can establish value very simply by having something that you can explain to them simply and put it in their hands and they go, wow, it's like it just starts that. This is something real, like this is something
I want a
neat.
book now.
Yeah.
Just sell me one.
Right. So it's like all of this stuff just is like there's lots we can spend all day talking about it. But I just wanted to give you guys some quick stuff, some take home stuff that you can, because what I feel like we don't spend enough time doing, and we're going to talk about that in the later sessions, is we don't spend enough time working on our businesses. We spend way too much time working in our business and being busy. But we're the business owners, which means it's your responsibility. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is going to come and say, Megan, let's sit down and talk about how you can make more money. Shannon, let's sit down and talk about how you can spend more time surfing or watching cats play or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Let's, Alicia, let's figure out how you can spend more time with your son. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to do that for you. But I feel like the most amazing thing about my life is that I can do that for me. You know what I mean? You guys get that opportunity, and it's unbelievable. And I know sometimes we don't think about it, but like this is a crazy life to me. I spent lots of years delivering pizzas and working construction, and I've had every job you can imagine. And I spent all those times wishing I could do something like this. And the only difference between now and then is I said, well, let's do it then. That's it. Gave myself permission. So I'm gonna give you guys permission to run your businesses how you want, but you have to do it. You gotta start.